day, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is a theory I would love for you to vet for me. This will be a long video, so let me start off by asking, am I the only person who notices the world's reality is upside down? What I mean is, what once was is now just the opposite. For example, girls look like boys and boys look like girls. Women are having a raging orgasm with only the thought of ruling over men. Imagination/feelings overrule facts/law. Whoredom is preferred over wholesomeness. And the chick's favorite, thug life over respectable life. On the political front, conservatives are now liberal, and the liberals are now conservatives. According to Google and myself, conservative means, quote, holding to traditional attitudes and values and cautious about change or innovations, typically in relations to politics or religion. But wait a minute. Aren't the Republicans the champions of deregulation everything? Hell, they don't want any oversight. Why? Because regulations cost money. In fact, according to Bloomberg Business under, it's the question, too much corporate power? Quote, for corporate America, there is danger in the new climate. In a word, renewed government regulation. For 2 decades, the market deregulation has fostered competition and lowered many prices. But the pendulum may have swung too far for many citizens who now take the gains for granted and want to dampen the extremes that can come with unfettered capitalism. Already, Washington is making noise about curbing mega mergers, regulating health maintenance organizations, and drug prices, imposing new rules on airlines and capping energy rates in cities such as San Diego, where costs skyrocketed after the city deregulated its utilities. Example, understand, this is coming from a multi-billionaire's perspective, talking to those who want to hear what a multi-billionaire has to say. But if you are able to read between the lines, the corporate beast thinks, or should I say, is projecting, that its back is against the wall. Question, what does a beast do when its back is against the wall? It strikes first. Remember that. The Republicans' mouths say smaller government, but their votes are always for war and nation building. Their mouths say no to gays, but all these new laws are being passed and a Republican ran everything. Believe me, I live in red state Georgia. Yet, Atlanta has one of the biggest homosexual presence in the U.S. Are we to think only Democrats are profiting from that huge economic market? Really? Truth be told, these cats want it wide open like the Wild Wild West again. Now on the flip side, am I the only person who notices? The liberals are the ones trying to kill freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of thoughts, etc. I think I know why the American world is upside down, people. If we look at the signs of the times and believe in the scriptures and that there is nothing new under the sun, we are in the midst of a fascist corporatism coup in America. And the corporations are using the homosexuals, the cootie queens, and the lint lickers as their brown shirts, just like the Nazis did. Question, have you ever wondered what were the 2 symbols on the walls that bracket the Speaker of the House? You know, the bundle of sticks with the axe coming out of it. Well, guess what? according to Wikipedia under Fascist Symbolism, subtitled Common Symbolism of Fascist Movements. Quote, most fascist movements adopted symbols of ancient Roman or Greek origin. For example, the German use of Roman standards during rallies. The Italians adoption of the fasces, F-A-S-C-E-S symbol. The Spanish phalanx, from the Spanish word for phalanx. Under Italy, quote, the original symbol of fascism in Italy under Benito Mussolini was the fasces. This is an ancient imperial Roman symbol of power carried by lictors in front of magistrates, a bundle of sticks featuring an axe, indicating the power over life and death. Example. So as you can see, America uses not only the Roman eagle standard, it also uses the fasces to boot. But do you notice something wrong with this picture, other than the obvious? If the symbol represents the power of life and death, why in the hell is it on the wall of Congress? Another perceptual avenue. Think about it. So I'm asking a question, when did alienate the majority of your customer base, religious, for a fraction of the minority support, homosexuals, become a viable business model in a fiscal bottom line world without there being a fly in the buttermilk? The way I see it, the corporations are using the exact same method of operation today as they used during the Hitler's rise, Mussolini's and Pinochet's fascist shifts, and the Black Civil Rights Movement. But this time, become the front man to gain visible and overall power in America. You don't believe me, do you? According to Wikipedia under corporatism, quote, corporatism is a socio-political organization of a society by major interest groups or corporate groups, such as agricultural, business, ethnic, labor, military, patronage, or scientific affiliations on the basis of common interests. It is theoretically based on the interpretation of a community as an organic body. Corporatism is related to the sociological concepts of structural functionalism, which is a framework for building theory that sees society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. Corporatism may also refer to economic tripartism, involving negotiations between business, labor, and state interest groups to establish economic policy. They are called lobbyists today, but each will openly act as an equal partner, I guess to shadow the legislation, judicial, and executive branches. If you don't believe me, let's continue and tell me if you haven't heard this for the past 8 years. Quote, this is sometimes also referred to as neo-corporatism and is associated with social democracy. Stop. I guess when you guys were yelling, yes we can, you were talking to big business after all. This is why companies were labeled too big to fail during the parachute bailout of Wall Street. To date, not one executive has been charged with a crime for ruining so many people's lives. With a Democratic government at that. I said then and now, I said then and I'll say now, what they did was pure evil genius. No, not creating a bubble. I'm talking about how they handled the entire crisis. Why do I say it was evil genius? Because all they did was hire protest companies to organize the Occupy Everything movement. This way, they controlled the entire situation and got an extra bonus to boot. No, I'm not talking about their multi-million-dollar buyouts they received. I'm talking about the new laws they put in place in direct response of the perceived chaos the occupiers presented. Believe it or not, it is basically illegal to protest now. Yep, that's what I said. According to Wikipedia, under Federal Restricted Buildings and Grounds Improvement Act of 2011, quote, it is also known as H.R. 347. It is a federal law in the United States allowing the Secret Service extra jurisdiction to make arrests and suppress protests in cases of trespass on restricted locations and intentional disruptions of government functions. H.R. 347 is a revision of Section 1752 of Title 18 U.S. Code, introduced by Representative Thomas Rooney, Florida. It makes punishable by up to 10 years jail time or fine any person who does or conspires enter any restricted building or grounds or within certain proximity without lawful authority to do so, attempts to disrupt the orderly conduct of government business. It defines restricted buildings or grounds as the A, of the White House or its grounds, or the Vice President's official residence or its grounds. B, of a building or grounds where the President or other persons protected by the Secret Service is or will be temporarily visiting. Or C, of a building or grounds so restricted in conjunction with an event designated as a special event of national significance. The law passed Congress and was signed by President Barack Obama on April 8, 2012. Example, I told you, any person, place, or thing the Secret Service deems restricted, you will not be able to protest, disrupt, etc. anymore. You know, when they finally bring their fingers, different non-related laws, together to make their fist of fury. Wait, isn't Obama supposed to be a liberal? But let's continue with the video subject, shall we? But so far, would you agree with me that only a wayward soul could think this type of system could possibly work outside of the children of Israel's walk of life? Heck, even it was separate. I can't hear your answer because this is a video, but hopefully you said yes. Only a person lacking in true understanding of not only the nature of the heathens, but also the nature of prophecy will try to implement this in a heathen world where greed, lust, and want are praised as being good things. Okay, let's continue. Under corporatism in religion and spiritualism. Quote, Christian corporatism is traced to the New Testament of the Bible in 1 Corinthians 12 through 31, where Saul of Tarsus discusses an organic form of politics and society where all people and components are united functionally, like the human body. During the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church sponsored the creation of various institutions including brotherhoods, monasteries, religious orders, and military associations, especially during the Crusades, to sponsor association between these groups. So as you can see, Saul was the tree, yet again, for the waywardness and evil the church has done up to this very day. Now to why I think we are in the midst of a fascist coup. There was a little white gal named Naomi Wolf from the UK that set off a firestorm with her article in The Guardian that was carried by the U.S. News Group entitled Fascist America in 10 Easy Steps. Every vetted news outlet from The Atlantic to The Examiner has run an op-ed opposing her views. They are not disputing the tried and true steps it takes to create a fascist state. Hell, they have many examples to look at in their lifetime. I'm talking about Hitler, Pinochet, Mussolini, the Chinaman, etc. They were disputing America hasn't gotten that bad yet. I want us to take a look at only the steps needed for a coup and her peace and see if we can piece this puzzle together. A. Invoke a terrifying internal and external enemy. We got ISIS abroad, wink wink, and traditionalists domestically. What is a traditionalist, you ask? Someone that doesn't get down with the entire gay rights, political correctness, feminist stuff. You know, the generation cupcake mentality. With the gays and feminists, I don't know who has overtaken who, but I do know their corporate masters are using them both now to gain unlimited power. B. Create a gulag. This is an easy one. A place where even the president who formed it said he wanted the desired American detention center to, quote, be situated in legal outer space. Have you guessed what I am talking about yet? You know, guys, the place your president said was his #1 priority to close down. Yep, Guantanamo Bay. This is why it will never close down. They're going to need it. C. Develop a thug caste. Just like the silver shirts of Italy and the brown shirts of Germany and the Midwest America, today's thug caste are the LBGT movement itself. Just a bunch of spiky-haired bully thugs. I wish you would tell them you not gonna bake them a wedding cake. I wish you would tell them you believe a marriage should be between a man and a woman. I wish you would tell them you believe the girls' bathroom is for people with a vagina. I wish you would tell them your religious belief will not allow you to cater to their desires. I wish you would say the ruler of the family is the man. I wish you would make a gay joke in public. Do it! I wish you would! They will destroy your livelihood so fast, even the dog will shake its mangy head at you. D. Set up an internal surveillance system. According to AP News, the big story section, under commuter rails defend audio surveillance aboard trains. Quote, New Jersey Transit Director defended its use of audio surveillance systems on some of its trains Tuesday, as some questioned the monitoring legal and ethics underpinnings. Audio and video recordings currently is in use on the agency's river line between Trenton and Camden and will be in use in Hudson County, New Jersey Transit said Tuesday. Stop. Interesting. But if you think that is an isolated case, according to NPR, quote, the Maryland Transit Administration has been recording audio and video on many of its buses in Baltimore area since 2012. According to the Washington Post, in San Francisco, buses and trains have both audio and video recording with the audio devices always running. And in Atlanta, transit officials are adding video and audio recording to the buses and will put them on trains next. All right. E. Harass citizen groups. I have to give it to the crackers on this one. Yes, they went after the Tea Party hard. But wait! A church in Pasadena, whose minister preached that white Jesus was in favor of peace, found itself being investigated by the IRS, while churches that got Republicans out to vote, which is equally illegal, mind you, are never touched. Is it just me, or does it seem like the gays are going out of their way to pick fights? This leads me back to my black Hebrew Israelite question. How on earth do you guys get to say all the things that you do, and no one says a word about it? Interesting. But did you hear what happened to Robert De Niro at his own film festival? The Tribeca Film Festival. He was going to show a film about how vaccines create autism. He said his wife said their son became autistic right after immunizations, but was thugged by the pharmaceutical companies who used other filmmakers with the threat of a boycott if he showed the film. When does it stop, people? F. Target key individuals. Mussolini went after the heads of the universities. Goebbels went after the same, as did Pinochet and the Chinaman. But this American coup is using the very people the old guard used as boogeymen, the gay-loving academics. Their target, all of you traditionalists, everyone that does not conform to their demands. What are their demands, you ask? They really don't know. That is why everything offends them. Got everybody walking on eggshells. Everything is never enough. They are aimless homosexual and feminist thugs, just like their corporate sponsors want them to be. Don't worry, I will connect the dots at the end with my own category. Next one. G. Control the press. I wish you would do something the PC police deems inappropriate. They will have a microphone stuck in your face so fast, trying to put you out of business and make an example out of your ass. With all of the swirling and gay this and gay that, transgender this and transsexual that going on in the media today, it's sickening, really. And guess who pays to have all of these shows in your face 24/7? You guessed it, corporations, through either advertisements to outright executive producing the madness themselves. A self-financing war machine. Evil genius. If you don't think the press is controlled, just YouTube any of the number of videos that show how one news story is played on each and every network with the same voice inflections and all. It's absolutely hilarious. Next one. H. Dissent equals treason. I wish you would stand up for your beliefs in a public square, except the Hebrew Israelites for some strange reason. They will publicly strip you naked and paint you red, tar and feather you, and mark you with a scarlet H for homophobe, of course. You lose your job, blackballed from getting another one. All your friends somehow love gay people now all of a sudden, making you look even more radical. Think about it. In the near future, just standing up for your own personal beliefs, you will be labeled a radical. And if you make any steps toward isolating yourselves from their madness, you will be labeled an extremist. Heavens help you if you have to defend yourself against encroachments. You will be labeled a terrorist then. Now here's my overall theory. The next one. Suspend the rule of law. No, not how you guys think of it. Martial law type stuff. This coup is more devastating in that it is being done in a way the common people are either too scared to mount up a fight or are being swept along with the spirit of desolation. What am I talking about, you ask? Am I the only person to notice? Corporations have publicly and form sitting constitutionally mandated governments. They run this mother sucker. They have band together to fight against, using their economic power and overturning sitting laws passed by a constitutional state Congress, Senate, and governor's approval. This is sedition, people. Take Georgia's Religious Freedom Bill, for instance. Whether you agree with it or not, it passed everything it was supposed to pass to be a legal binding law. A band of corporations stepped in and through financial blackmail made the governor strike down the very law he instituted in the first place. Take North Carolina, for instance. The NBA has stepped forward and said they had a certain amount of hours, not days or weeks, to rescind a law already on the books, or they and a couple of their friends will use their economic black hand against the state. Guess who is the first to step forward in North Carolina in defense of the law? In defense of the corporations. According to Yahoo News, under black leadership in North Carolina are ready to stage sit-in to fight anti-LGBT legislation. Quote, when it comes to North Carolina's House Bill 2, the state's NAACP branch wants the legislator to know we're not going to stand for it. Literally. On March 23rd, North Carolina passed HB 2, a law requiring citizens to use the bathroom that matched the gender they were assigned at birth rather than the gender they identify as. And it hasn't taken long for critics of the bill to speak out. There has already been a statewide PayPal pullout and a canceled Bruce Springfield concert, among other protests against the state. Now the NAACP is threatening to stage a series of sit-ins if the legislature does not repeal HB 2 by April 21st. At a press conference on Saturday, Reverend William Barber, president of the North Carolina NAACP, said that he will call the bill Hate Bill 2. Example, yep, weak-kneed and back-bending colored preachers. Preachers, mind you, are supporting gay rights. This world is upside down. It has gotten so bad in North Carolina, X-Hamster, a major porn site, has shut North Carolina off altogether, sending horny men and women into a frenzy. In Georgia, Georgia Prospers, which represents more than 480 companies, including Coca-Cola, Delta, Home Depot, UPS, and Marriott, Disney, and Marvel, who already get a 30% tax break, Intel, Salesforce, along with a coalition of media and film companies, threatened the shit out of the governor, and he refused to sign the bill. But wait! Is Seeker and I the only people who realize the corporation started their coup during the second Obama presidential run? You remember when they committed sedition and a national security threat by publicly telling us they were pulling out over $4 trillion out of our market and putting them into offshore accounts that they are not supposed to have, mind you. They publicly told the world they did it because they were not sure of the political climate. The political climate, and didn't know who was going to win the election. People, you can't freaking do that. The president has a duty to protect the sovereignty and national interests of the United States. Economic stability is one of those duties. Allow me to ask you a question before I let you go. If corporations are banding together to change standing laws, thus usurping the officials you voted in place, who can stop them from doing it to any issue they want after they are finished using the homosexuals? Thank you for looking at this video, and look for the next.